So we're live, 7 seconds, 8 seconds in. Welcome everybody. This is a surprise. I said I'd never do this. Strange how things happen. Sound check would be nice, please. That would be great. If you can hear me, and if the background music isn't causing you any grief. If you want me to turn it down a little bit, the background music, I will do. I can do that. Ginger kombucha. Sounds perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Anne. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Big thumbs up. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. Welcome to the Pure Energy Healing Academy. Can you see in the background all sorts of stuff there? Do you see? Hey, look at that then. Isn't that beautiful? I've brought that from home. I've been working on that for, probably got about 500 hours working that. Absolutely gorgeous, eh? Do you want to see it close up? It's fine. Doesn't matter. I'll show you another day. But yeah, it's beautiful. We're not talking about crystals today. We're talking about something very special, very dear to my heart. It's probably, if you were to ask me what's the most important thing I've ever done in my life, I would say this subject matter. It means more to me than anything. And although I don't do it so much these days, I don't tend to pass it by. So if there's ever a moment that I'm in a space or a place and I feel that there's something happening in that particular space, I'll sit down and I'll try my best to try and help trap spirit. So the thing is, it becomes very, very complicated. This is the issue. This is really the issue with this situation. Because you don't know what you're dealing with really until you start. And the thing is, you sometimes will get to a point where you think, this isn't a good situation. This is a negative situation. And, you know, we talk, this is where it becomes really, really complicated. And I knew it would be as soon as I started speaking about it, because you're going to judge me for what Mark Bajerski is a nice person and, you know, he doesn't judge. And I don't judge, but what I do is in certain situations, I will not put my energy into something that I know is devious and dark, and so it depends. What I normally do with that, I make a conscious decision, and I don't make it lightly. I really have to feel that the trap spirit is indeed in no place for repair. It's very similar, actually, to trying to forgive somebody who's a nasty piece of work and trying to make things right and trying to help them. You can't. That's just the way they are. And so this idea of helping people home who are trapped, it becomes almost like Sherlock Holmes. Sometimes it's so easy. Sometimes you can just sit down and all of a sudden you can feel a beautiful soul. And that beautiful soul is trapped in between two worlds. I've named it spirit in denial. I've never heard it said before, but I say it because the reason why I called it spirit in denial is because they don't believe that they're not home. They believe that where they are is exactly where they're meant to be, and they don't recognize a repeat pattern because it's almost like living it over. It's a bit like Groundhog Day to them. It's just a constant, never ends. It's a circle, just keeps going. It's kind of fascinating, really. But like I said, sometimes you can just sit down in a house and you can connect to a spirit trapped, and you can start to have a kind of conversation. Now, I want to explain something to you guys, because the reason hard to explain. So the best way to explain it is, so you come for a healing session and you're lying down on my healing bed, and I'm stood over you and I'm starting the healing. And prior to that, I'll make sure the room is in good energy. It has to be in good energy, or else for me, it's just, it's like me cleaning your car outside and not cleaning inside. So it just doesn't work. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be cleaned totally. So it's I have to clear everything as well as myself. So, and I won't do the work unless I'm at high energy. If I'm feeling bad, if somebody's been upset with me, if I've upset somebody, if I'm feeling down, I won't do the work, because it doesn't work. Never works. I've tried it. It doesn't work. You've got to be at high energy. This is why it's so complicated, this situation. This is like, I've never taught this before, so this is the first time I'm just giving you sound bites at the moment, and we'll later, in the future, we'll get more and more deeper into it. But this particular point is a really, really valid and important point. So when I start my healing session, I don't know what's going to happen. I've got the nice music on, I've cleansed the room out, it's perfect energy, high vibe, and then I start the healing session. After that healing session's done, the client's gone. There are some moments that when clients come and you start the healing session, you can feel something coming into the room. And that something is normally the spirit world, your home world, your brothers and sisters, or it could be the client who's lying down, and it could be a member of their family or friends. Or so, and what happens then is you can feel them in the room, because you might, like normally my ear pops, okay, it just pops and then it goes, and then goes. And now I know that the energy's changed in the room, somewhat like you're moving from a low point to a high point. So if you're at the bottom of a mountain and you walk to a top of a mountain, or you drive up to that mountain, you'll find that your ears pop, because the frequency and energy is different. Okay, you might say the altitude, but to me it's energy. So my ears pop, okay, something's changed in the room, and now I feel a presence. As I'm doing the healing session, I sometimes get this overwhelming feeling of what's called the spirit moving in and working through me. Now, it doesn't always happen, and when it does, it's a beautiful energy. It's a beautiful sensation. Okay, so hold on to that thought. Right, so somebody gives me a call and says, Mark, we've just bought a house. Things are happening in the house. It's strange. We have a feeling that there's a ghost or a presence in the house. Could you come and check? So I go along with all my tools, my crystals, feeling good, got my music ready, got my sprays, got my sage ready. So I go to the house and knock on the door opens, I go in and I ask everybody to bugger off. Now the reason for that is because I don't want to be dealing with anybody else's energy in that house. That's why I work alone. That's why I never ask other healers to come with me, because it really, it puts me off. I can't work properly and I get confused easy. I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia, so I need things easy. So that's why it was always a struggle for me when I was doing readings with somebody who sat there and the grandmother was behind them, or their best friend was behind them. It was a real struggle. I like people just to be in the room, just one-on-one, when I do readings. Why? Because I can sometimes pick up on the other person, and then all of a sudden I get confused and I look like an idiot. So I ask them to leave. And I've always been lucky. People have always trusted me, right? Like, okay, I'm leaving the house. When should I come back? Give me a couple of hours, and then come back. Minimum a couple of hours, sometimes 3. Now, you've got to understand that you don't know what you're walking into. First of all, as a psychic healer working in that field, you might know, or you might have a family member that you feel might be trapped somewhere. So you're already at a point where you're quite lucky to have all that information. So it's a good start. So for me, when I'm in that house, I start walking around to try and pick up on that presence. And I'll walk around the house till the point where I feel the right room. So sometimes I'll work central, but most of the time I like to walk around each room and just sense which room feels like I need to work in that room. Meaning, is the presence in that room, or does it normally move in and out of the trap world into this world, back and forth like a loop? So I normally get that right. Normally when I come back, when they come back, I'll bring them to the room that I worked in, and they says that's the room that they passed away in. So normally I can pick that up pretty good. That's not such a difficult thing. So when you've got that presence and you feel you're just guided to go to that room, you then bring your tools and you put everything out, your crystals and whatever you want to work with. You put the music on, and then you start to sit down in that energy and you start to work in that energy. Now, I don't sage the place, and the reason why I don't sage the place is, 1, I don't know who's trapped, and 2, after I've saged, I don't know where spirit moves to, whether they go home or they something happens. I don't know if they end up still trapped somewhere else. So that I try not to do till afterwards, and I've figured out what's going on in the house. So let's just say I'll just pull out a client who called me up from Torrevieja. So that's over there. So I went over there and I went to the house, asked them to leave, found a certain room, and it wasn't a big room, it was a small room. And I started then just sitting down, playing some music and just getting comfortable, really, just going into a meditation state. I don't ask for anything. I don't request anything. I don't work like other healers, because I just want to work on my own energy and what I feel. That's all. I don't want to work on ABC 1, 2, 3. So I'm just feeling that energy. And you just close your eyes and the music's playing and you're not trying to do anything. You're just in the energy, and you're just feeling. I guess when you go into meditation, you kind of feel like you're trying to clear, not just clear the mind, but just get into a different state. And in that state, heightened awareness starts to come. So it could be heightened hearing, but not your hearing, what you hear like me and you listening now, but a different hearing, a different sense of hearing. And then my conversation, which isn't coming out of my mouth, but it's inside my mind, and it's also a conversation that I'm having in the room. I'm not talking, I'm just waiting to hear a conversation. And also, I close my eyes because I'm wanting to see, and I want a heightened sense of seeing without looking through my eyes. So it's different senses. You're starting to, I guess you have to trust them. And this is the hardest thing for most people. It's so difficult for them to break free from understanding that we have these senses and they are so powerful, and yet our mind tells us this is bullshit. And we're talking to ourselves and that there is nobody talking back. And soon as that starts to kick in, then forget it. It ain't going to work. I had to break free from that. I had to let that go and realize that that's actually what stops most people from helping people into the spirit world. It's the brain and your program. So when that's clear and you're just listening, you'll be surprised what starts to come and what you start to hear and see. It's phenomenal. And the other thing is this feeling of not good enough, or maybe making a mistake, or you're not being able to connect to anything. There's nothing more powerful than telling the truth. And there's been many times that I've said I didn't feel anything, I didn't hear anything, I wasn't able to help, I wasn't able to help this spirit back, and there's not much I can do for that. Don't be frightened of the outcome not being what you're there for. The outcome is exactly what the outcome's meant to be. You know, I went back so many times to one person's house to try and help this spirit because it was so stubborn and so much in denial. It took me about 5 times. And you're talking maybe 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes, you know, when you're in that. So that's why a lot of people don't want to do this work. They want that, you know, you'll get some people saying, oh, you can do it in a second. Well, good for you. I can't. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what gift you've got, but I have to work hard at it. So when I don't teach you this, it's because I don't feel that this is something I'm comfortable with teaching, because for me it's always been rewarding when it happens, but there's so many situations, and if somebody ever says to me it's ABC, I know they're full of shit, because it's impossible. There's too many dilemmas, too many situations, too many experiences that I've had to know that it ain't cut and dry. It ain't that easy. Oh, you just call the white light and they come. No, it's not that easy. No, I don't see it like that. I'm sorry, I just don't get that. And there's nobody more willing to be open and accept the spirit world to bring this white light in, and for spirit to go straight in. There's been times that I've seen this white light, and I think I've mentioned it to you before. I was in Bora Bora in Marbella, and there was a massive group of us, and we were all sat doing meditation, and just at the point of meditation, I saw this beautiful glowing energy in the center of the circle. There must have been 50 of us, or maybe 70 of us, and we were all meditating, and I saw this beautiful energy, and what walked through me, and what I saw walking through on the beach was spirit moving into this frequency and disappearing. And I said to, she's no longer here, but she was on the coast. She was called Jennifer Mackenzie, and she was like a medium. I've never been a medium, never claimed to be one, never stood up doing mediumship. It's not my work. It's never something I've ever wanted to do. But I said to her, did you see what happened in the center? And she said, no. So I saw it, nobody else did. So you might then start to think, am I going crazy? Am I just making this up? But then, you know, each person experiences things differently. And this is a wonderful thing to know, a wonderful thing to grasp. Not everybody experiences the same as you. And just because somebody experienced something phenomenal and you didn't mean it didn't exist and it didn't happen. But as far as I believe wholeheartedly that the easiest way to move forward when you're doing this work is to just simply sit and allow whatever to happen. You're not trying, you're not forcing, you're not wanting, you're not hoping. Just sit there in the presence. And this is what I feel. It is actually a natural process where you don't have to try and do anything, but in truth, it kind of When you sit back and you've done it, it's like, wow, it actually, something happened that it happened naturally and automatically. So eventually you don't really need to try, but just to be in the space and in the moment. Because like when you're doing a healing session and all of a sudden spirit comes through, it's very similar. It's like the spirit world comes through you and you become a bridge to heal the spirit trapped. So if you're looking over here and I'm stood there giving a healing session and I said to you, okay, I feel spirit coming through me, what happens then? There's a bridge into that client and the healing process is profound. It's absolutely profound. It can't be explained, but something happens beyond our understanding. And it's the same thing. So you touch the soul by way of the physical body. And if I move my body out of the way, and if I'm gone from one area to another, the space that you've created, because it can normally happen in 25, 30, 35 minutes, as you are giving healing, it's the same as meditation, really. It's just focused meditation, focused healing. You're creating an energy which is growing, and then you move away, the energy stays. And then spirit can continue doing the work. And thus, when you walk around and you work on the head or you work on the feet, and you were in the center at the time when you moved away, you'll find that your client will always say to you afterwards, there were 2 people in this room. There's no way you could have been working on my head because somebody was working on my stomach. And you smile and you say, yeah, I think there was somebody here working with me. And they'll say there was absolutely somebody else. There wasn't just one person. There was definitely 2 people. So these are confirmations you get as a healer. But when you're in a house and your aim and focus is to help the client who is stuck in a new house and they don't know what to do, you have to just be at peace. And then it just flows. It should just flow. Things should just happen. But the point being is, as everything is happening, like you're meditating and your senses are growing, so is your energy. And sometimes you can feel a beautiful presence. And sometimes you might be mistaken the presence for the trapped spirit, for the spirit world that comes forward to help. And normally, that spirit that's trapped, normally who comes forward is the member of family for that person who's trapped. So you often get a thank you at the end of it by way of the spirit world saying, in a way, giving you this uplifting feeling like you've scored a goal, or you've just passed your driving test because the guy's just said, congratulations, you've just passed your driving test, or you've just had a child, just given birth, and you have that amazing feeling. You often get that feeling. More often than not, that's the feeling where you can say, okay, it's done. It's done. I felt that. And then you go away because you think you've finished it, and then your client will tell you, yeah, there's no more noise. Everything feels calm and settled. It doesn't feel bad anymore in that room. And that's great. So let's talk about that process then, eh? Let's try and break that process down. Let's say that there's a young girl in that room that may have had pneumonia and passed away in that room. So there's a little girl still in that room, and she comes and goes in energy. And it might have been like 200 years ago, it might have been 50 years ago. Time and space doesn't exist. So it's not like, oh, it's going to be more difficult because it was 200 years ago than it was 10 years ago. It makes no difference. But what you are trying to do is you're trying to feel. When I say try, I don't mean you have to try to do it. What your goal is and aim is to see what comes through. And don't ever get upset if you don't feel anything. It's okay. Come back again. Keep trying until something happens. So in Torrevieja, I'm in a little room, small room, probably half the size of this room. And I decided to sit on the bed. So I'm sat on the bed, and I might have just used a little bit of... Normally I start with Palo Santo, the sacred energy sticks, and I'll cleanse myself down, and I'll cleanse the room down. I won't use sage, just use Palo Santo, just to heighten the energy in there. So I'm trying to think of exactly how I work it. Put the music on. I had a little music center. Put the music on. And then I would use some of my oils. It depends really how I'm feeling, what oil. So I normally have all my 10 oils, and I'll just go to one that I feel is right, or I'll just pick one up as random, because I always know that the right one will be given to me. So I'll rub that on. Normally rub on here, help me see the truth. Behind my ears, help me hear the truth. On my throat, help me speak the truth. And on my heart, help me feel the truth. And then I rub and breathe in, the oil. If it feels a little bit heavy, if it feels like it's really heavy, and it's starting to get more heavier, and I don't feel too good, and I feel a little bit nauseous, or I feel a little bit like I'm ready to faint, and I feel dizzy, that normally means that I need to pick some healing oil or cleansing oil, and I'll rub it on my back, rub it all down my back. That's a good healing protection. It clears negative energy and keeps you... A lot of healers get issues in their kidneys, so I rub it there. So I sit down, and I instantly, when I close my eyes, see a little girl with long flowing blonde hair, and I see her in a white dress, and there's like a red ribbon around her waist, and I see her smiling. And in the room, I see toys, I see dolls, and now I'm sensing that this is a young girl. She looks about anywhere between 7 and 8 years old, and I'm trying to communicate by way of, as if I'm communicating with you in a room where you're on the floor playing with dolls. You're a girl and you're playing with dolls. I'm trying to communicate, but not with words. But you can use words. You can actually use your words and actually talk that way. You can talk, but I always keep my eyes closed, because I can see spirit far easier with my eyes closed. When my eyes are open, I only catch glimpses of energy, so it's easier, and then it picks up and it becomes more potent. So I'll start to communicate by way of playing at the same time. So I want to be in the same energy and frequency as this little girl. So I want to play with the toys, and I want to be in that energy with the toys. So I will put myself in front of her as my soul right there. So you know this because we've done this before together. We've come out of our body and we've sat in seats, and then we've spoken to spirit. So you know this already. And this is the practice that I've been giving you. And this is a wonderful thing, because now you can do the same. You come out of your body and you put yourself next to the little girl, and you start playing with the same toys, and you start to communicate, but you don't force your communication. No forcing in any of this field of work. Forcing doesn't work. It's a waste of time, and you'll go back to square one and you'll have to start all over again. So you play and you see what happens and what's being said. Communication starts normally by way of thought. So you'll feel a thought, and that thought will resonate. So their energy will give you a thought. In that energy will be, you have to dissect that energy. You have to figure out what the trap spirit is saying. So it could be, do you like playing? Do you like my doll? So you then have to communicate back and say it's absolutely beautiful, and you have to become a friend almost, and try and figure out, in the sense of communication, in this way. So it comes through, it's here because your pineal gland's here, but also through your heart as well. So in that process of building up a friendship, it becomes whereby the confidence of the trapped spirit, it is not fearful and is comfortable with you. So once you've established a comfortable situation, then you can communicate by way of, and this is what I do. I'm sure other people will do something different. I, at the same time as communicating, will try and call upon the spirit world to get somebody to come forward, whether it's one or two, whether it's the mother who's in spirit or grandmother or somebody who they know. And I'm trying to pick up some kind of name or feeling. So it's normally feeling. So I like, okay, this is the father. So I can feel the father in the room, behind me or at the side of me. Now, the connection between the spirit world and spirit trapped, I have no idea why there isn't a connection between them and why they're not communicating. But all I've known over 20 years is if I'm in the room, I become that connection by way of Father coming into me, and from there, Father connecting and doing their work. So the Father is now being able to connect, just like if I'm over here giving a healing session, the spirit world comes into me and then starts to do this profound work. And I can even move away and that work can be continued by the spirit world within the energy that I've created. See how complicated this is when you try and explain it to people. It's like you can't just teach this. It's just, it's so deep. So when I feel as if I've got somebody in the spirit world, I also communicate by way of saying that your dad's here and he wants you to come home and to follow him. Now, depending on what age you are, I am speaking to that child as a child. If I speak to an adult who's an old man who's passed away in a house, I'll speak to him as an old man. So as a child, I'll say, your dad wants you and he needs you over here, or he wants you over here and he wants you. It's all about helping the trapped spirit from the vibration and frequency that they're in to a new frequency, to move away from that frequency and in their own doing, no force, but they have to make that decision to vibrate or move. I call it vibrating into the light, vibrating home. So I'm asking the girl to, your daddy's here and he wants you to come with him. So you need to stop playing with your toys and your dad wants you now. Can you come through? And this is what happened when I was at the house. The girl stopped, smiled, held a hand out, moved through me and was gone. And it happened in like an instant. So it sounds really simple, but it isn't simple, because that was an exception. An exception that, like, wow, that was quick, that was easy. And I was like almost thinking, nah, that was too easy. This doesn't make any sense. She'll come back again. This didn't happen. So I went away saying, look, I don't know if I did anything. I feel it was a girl. I think she was about 6-7 years old. And I think she died. She was sweating. What I saw was kind of like a pneumonia, which was all bang on. So like she'd found out that was absolutely right, that she had some kind of bad fever and she died in the house. So that was good. Like, but my interest wasn't, oh yeah, great, I got it right. My interest was, did she go home? Did she vibrate into the light? Did she go back to the spirit world? Well, from that day on, I never got I rang a couple of times and said, is anything? No, everything's fine. And it actually did feel better. The house did feel better. And I kind of like, well, I don't want to say I've done something, and then it come back again, because then I'd feel so freaking bad. So I always say to people, I don't know. I hope that it's happened, but only you'll know, because the feelings that you got before when you were in that room or in the house, that like somebody's here, that should go, that should be gone. And I didn't want to use sage, because like I said, if I sage that place just to make sure, I don't know where that little girl will go once the sage has been put all over the house. And I've never been able to attune to that. And I'll always say I don't know if I don't know. So that's one that's one situation where that was quite simple, really. It wasn't really difficult. I had the help of the spirit world that guided me to that house. And like, okay, there was a phone call. I was asked to go. And like, oh, is that coincidence, or is that the spirit world already setting this up? And I always say now that I've figured out that sometimes when situations happen in our world, it could have been preordained. It could have been worked out 5 years ago. So my preparation as a healer and a psychic could have been like, we're preparing you to be able to help with this situation. And I think that is a fascinating subject in itself. So I don't think it's just here and now, but to the spirit world, there is no time and space. But to us, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. And like, they knew one day that you will be in a certain place, and they will make sure you will be there. And the spirit world will create things to happen in sync for those things to happen. It's like, wow, the spirit world does have a lot of, let's say, leeway in not manipulating, but guiding, nudging, and just encouraging us to go in a certain direction, which will help everybody. Help me, help you, help Spirit Trapped, and so on. So does anybody not understand that? And I guess I should now open it up to some questions before I move on to other situations. There's anything that you don't understand, maybe that you want to ask me and think, okay, that kind of makes sense, but it doesn't. This is what I need to know. So please ask some questions, and I'll try my best to answer them. If I don't know, I don't know. Okay, got one here from Jen. Okay. I'm always rubbish at answering questions if I am confused by the question, but I'll try, okay? What happens when they communicate, they cannot leave? What happens when they communicate, they cannot leave? See, this is where I get a little bit stuck. I don't really understand that. As it states, sage will not work. I don't even know what that means as well, neither, about sage not working. Maybe I shouldn't ask questions because I'm just confusing myself. Like I said, I work in different ways. I'm not super intelligent and I'm rubbish at reading, but I know what I know, so I'll keep going, okay? So, I've done this before, I've mentioned this before, and I like to mention it is because it's very, very powerful. Okay, it's very powerful. So I was in Belgium and I was asked to go into an old building, which was a restaurant of a friend of mine that I worked for quite a while. Lovely lady. And I went in, and it was 9:30, everybody had gone. And then I was asked to just cleanse the place. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but everybody had left, and I asked everybody to leave, and I was on my own. And something felt wrong. Something felt not good. Something felt bad. Now it was a trap spirit, for sure. There was a trap. There was something bad, and I don't know why, but I just said into myself, I need to sage this place quick. I just need to sage this place. Now, I wouldn't have normally done that. I would have kind of sat down and just taken my time. But for some reason, I just knew there was no way of communication. Whatever was here, I just needed to sage it. Now, you only come to those conclusions after you've done, years of work, and then you come to realize if you're going into a house and you sage that house, then it's because there's negative energy in there and you just want to clear it out, or there's some heavy shit in there and some trapped spirit that there ain't no way you're going to communicate and help that spirit into the light. Okay, so I haven't got a clue at the moment, but I just know that I am following exactly what I said to you earlier on. I just follow the guidance of what I feel. So it could have been that when I was there, right? And I'll explain this later, which I realized after it did happen. But I'm just trying to explain to you. So it's difficult for me to explain in that way. But I felt like, and I always do, like I'm being guided. Okay? So it's not me. I'm just being guided. So I'm playing Gregorian chants. Now, if I'm playing Gregorian chants, it's normally, if I'm looking for my CD, my mobile CD, or the CD in the place, and I'm putting my CD in and it's Gregorian chants, I know that this is heavy stuff. This is going to be heavy stuff. So I'm starting to sage. So as I'm saging, I sage the front windows, and then I'm going back, the bars in the middle, going round the bars, and then go round to the left, all there, then back, and then now I'm going to my right, and there's a hallway that takes you through to doorways that would take you outside into the garden where they eat in the garden. So as I begin to sage, I'm making sure that I'm saging in almost like I start from here and I work my way, dum, 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 so that nothing can come back there. And if there is anything heavy, any trap spirit, then it won't go here. It keeps away from sage. So I make sure that I start at one end, go that way, and keep going. And then I go there, and then I'll come back, and then I'll go here. And then as I'm going down the hallway, which was probably about 15 steps, 20 steps, a fairly long hallway, probably about the size of here, quite tight. And I'm blowing the sage, blowing, and all of a sudden I starts to feel really dizzy, and I can feel this weird energy. I start to feel like I'm gonna faint, all of a sudden spinning, and as I'm looking at the hallway, it's expanding. The hallway is getting longer and longer, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. And at that point, you realize that there's a manipulation in the energy. Whatever is given off is not good. This isn't a good energy. The frequency, whatever the trap spirit's in, this is a heavy, dense, and it's trying to manipulate and to cause issue to me. So I could feel it. My heart's pounding like mad. And that's normally an indication as well that your heart's pounding, your chest feels like it's been pushed in. Like this is a strong, very powerful energy, trap spirit. This is a strong spirit, right? So I walk there and I get to the end and I finished. There's nowhere else to go. So everywhere is full of smoke. You can't see properly. You can't breathe properly. There's so much smoke, it's unreal. So I get to the center of the bar and something just doesn't feel right. And this doesn't make any sense. I've done every single room. I've done everything. Doesn't make any sense. And then I'm just waiting to see. And for some reason, I picked my phone up And I rang the man who took me there, and I said, I don't understand what's happening, but something doesn't feel right. And I said to him, is there any rooms I've missed? And he said, no, you've done all the rooms. That's all on one level. And I said, something doesn't feel right. I said, are you sure there's nowhere else? And he says, if you go behind the barn, lift the floor up, there's some steps and it takes you down to where the barrels are. I said, that's it. So I've got my sage in my hand, put more sage in the bowl, like the sage bowl, put loads more sage in, and I opened this trap door, go down these stairs. I could only bend, I had to bend because I couldn't put my head up, and there's all these catacombs. It's like catacombs, loads of them, as far as you could see. So I starts blowing, and I'm 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 crawling like crawling bad back, like I'm doing everywhere. And then as I get closer to the darkness, for some reason, I put that down and I just look straight ahead and I close my eyes, and as I sat, I could see a man in what looks like cloth, and I see red cloth, and I see the anger, the rage coming towards me. I could feel the rage coming towards me. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why I stopped. Again, following what I feel is right. I did what I did, and I felt this, the urge to see and feel what's going on. And I knew it was bad, and I knew it was evil. And I could see, when I closed my eyes, I saw children being hurt by this monster, by this spirit, and it was coming towards me. And as I'm sat, it's coming towards me, and to say I was worried and shocked, I wasn't to a degree, but I was. So I wasn't, and I'm feeling it coming towards me, and I'm like, I didn't really know what to do. It was something that I haven't really been confronted with, that kind of evil. But as it came towards me, coming closer and closer, from behind I got this whoosh of energy. This is why I know that our spirit world isn't affected by sage. Spirit world is not affected by sage at all. But when you're trapped in between two worlds, there is definitely something that they are affected by. So as it comes towards me, I've saged behind me, I haven't saged in front of me, and it's coming towards me with anger. And at that moment, I get a whoosh feeling of calmness coming over me. And I could see my mother in the spirit world coming through or at the side with what can only be called nuns coming towards the very place of where this evil was. And at that moment, they came together, and there was an energy that happened, and it was a very powerful light, and then everything just disappeared. So again, it's one situation that's only ever happened to me. And when people say, well, what about the white light? What about this? What about that? I don't know. But I can tell you that this man wasn't of love. He was evil. He'd done evil things. And the fact that my mum just came at that moment, which I saw with my mind's eye with nuns, my mum was brought up with nuns in a nunnery because my grandma couldn't afford to keep her. So the nuns loved her. It was like, that's why my mum liked The Sound of Music. We went to see it 20 or 30 times. As much as I liked it, she loved it because it reminded her of the nunnery. So I can imagine that she has that kind of energy with nuns. But I believe that what my mum was showing me was just, I guess, how else do you show somebody something without showing them something that we know, which is they're showing me nuns. So are they nuns? No, they're not nuns, they're spirit. And my mum presents herself as a happy self when she was, in a 43, 40, 42. I remember at that age, when I vision her, I see her at that age. And so she shows herself at that age because they show us what we want to see, or they show us what we need to see so we know it's them. That's why I always say to you, and I know this is a side note, but I always say to you, when spiritualists say that, there's still a pain in the ass in the spirit world, like, I've never seen that. What I've seen is that they're showing us that they're a pain in the ass so we know who they are. But you're now making out that they're a pain in the ass, but they're not. They're just showing us who they are. How else are they going to show themselves without saying, oh yeah, he was really nasty to Joe. He's showing me that he was angry with Joe. Well, of course he was, because that's now you know who he is. Anyway, that's just my interpretation, but I could be completely wrong. They could be nasty in the spirit world, but I've never experienced that. I've never experienced the spirit world anything other than helping us throughout our day, throughout the night, and throughout my healing practice. And my mum's helped me all the way through up until I stopped doing this work. So yeah, that experience is something that I share with you for you to think about. So there's been many times I've gone into houses, and as I've gone into that, so down on the Costa del Sol, one of the houses was a lady had a card shop, really lovely lady. She called me and she asked me to go to her house. She just bought a house, renovated it all, and all the mirrors were breaking in the house, and she said it's weird. And then again I asked her to leave, and then I started doing it, and I started to connect and start to work in that energy and feel, and like, okay, this isn't a good energy. This is a trapped soul, but it's not good. Do I want to communicate to it? I'm getting the urge to just sage the place, because do I want to be involved with this? Do I want to try and help them? It doesn't feel right. It feels bad. So I saged the place. I said, see you later. If there's any problems more, I'll come back again. She sends me a message. She said, never had a problem since, Mark. So again, depending on you might think, I want to go and do this. Well, you need to have your tools. You need to have your sage. You need to, you need to be prepared. You need to work at it. You need to, my humble opinion, do some healing sessions. Start to become a healer. Start to heal people. And that the natural progression will be you'll get a phone call and somebody saying, can you come to my house? That's what happened to me. It was a natural I never in my wildest dreams thinking that I'm going to go to somebody's house to do something. It was like, no, I'm a healer, so people come to me and I just heal them on the bed. But that's what happened. I was asked to go, and like, okay, so it was a progression. It was very organic and natural, not something that I wanted to do or hear about. Oh, I want to do that. It was like, I'm not interested. I'm happy just being in my little room in Mias Pueblo. So, you know what? It's been nearly an hour. What I've shared with you now is enough for you to think about this, to meditate. I know it sounds corny, but to ponder on what's been given. Watch this back, listen to it, and try and understand it a little bit. The biggest takeaway for me is that for you guys is that you have to work on yourself. You have to cleanse and clear yourself. You have to be in a good place to do this work. If you are to go to somebody's house or at the side of the road to do it, to try and help somebody who, wherever somebody's hung themselves or something, you have to be at a good energy space. You have to get the room nice. You have to feel, it has to feel nice. It's like you're going to somebody to negotiate, And you know it's not going to be an easy negotiation because they're a bit stubborn. Spirit in denial. So imagine going to your mother-in-law and trying to tell her something that she doesn't particularly like you, right? You try and, ask her to do something for you. It's very similar to that. So it's not easy and it can take time. But like I said, the takeaway is that it's very natural and it's not like you have to force anything, but you have to come with a good energy and a good thoughts, and it's okay, whatever happens. You're not forcing, you're not trying, you're just trying to communicate and have a conversation. The next video I do, I'll take you through, spirit that are older, because when they pass and they're in between two worlds, they believe who they are is their age. It's not like they're conscious of their true soul and spirit, because they're still connected in some strange way to what they feel is their physical still. So it is quite complicated. But yeah, next time we'll go on to older people, and I'll share situations of people that may have taken their life, different scenarios that can help you as well. I'm sorry I can't answer messages, but I'm rubbish at it. I'm rubbish at that. I'm mind things, forget it. But spiritual things is easy. So I hope you appreciate today's chat, and it makes you think a little bit more about this situation, and if you want to do the work. But I honestly say this, and I'm not trying to plug you becoming a healer at the Pure Energy Healing Academy. That you already know I talk about, but that's how I became the person that I am today, through learning how to heal. And of course, I'm going to recommend Pure Energy Healing Academy, because I know it's done with integrity, with only truth, no lies, no, touching you and you all falling to the floor going, ah! None of that bullshit. It's just genuine it's like going to learn first aid. And when you've got these tools and you do a few healing sessions in those 4 days that I hope you do back to back, but maybe you might do in a weekend, 2 weekends in a row. That's why we only give you a limited time to do it, normally 1 month. And people say, why 1 month? It's because I want you to do the course in those 4 days, so you're feeling the experience like you are here. And once you start doing the healings, I'm telling you, there's no greater teacher than you giving a healing session to somebody in front of you. And what you learn from that, I can never teach. So yes, of course, I trust only my work, because I know who I am. I can't trust anybody else because I don't know anybody else. I know me, and I know what I share with you every day for the past 12 years with over 3,000 videos. You know who I am. So when I recommend the Pure Energy Healing Academy, it's because I created it, and Layla Satie helped me in that creation. So we did it together, and I believe it's the most beautiful 4-day course in the world that will help you. It might not make you a healer, but it will help you along your journey. So I wish you a lovely day, guys. That's me done now. Surprisingly enough, I find it more challenging to do talks on here than if you were here. I could talk to you here all day for 6 hours. If you were here, I could do 6 hours talking to you, no problem. But for some reason, it's more of a struggle for me to do it online. And I get tired after 1 hour. So I have to follow how I feel. It might be because I'm getting older, probably, but I follow what I feel. So I hope this helps today. Bottom of my heart, the only thing I ever want for you is to learn and to understand that, these kinds of things are very rare, very special, very beautiful. And I believe everybody is a healer, and I believe that you can help spirit in denial. And I'm sure you will one day if you're watching this. And yeah, Don't ever be put off by anything. Just keep trying. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye for now. Take care.